Keys to the Shop, episode 173. 5 areas of focus for retailers. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Keys to the Shop, where we give you insights, inspiration, and the tools you need to grow as a coffee service professional. My name is Chris DiFirio. I'm your host for the show, and thank you so much for joining me today. Always happy to have you along, and if you have not yet subscribed to the show, please hit that subscribe button wherever you get your podcast. That way, you will always have the newest episode ready to go. And also, if you have the opportunity to rate or review this show on iTunes, every little bit helps for the show's visibility, and I love seeing the reviews also and how the show has been helping you in your career. And thank you so much to those of you who have already done so. Now, today's episode of Keys to the Shop is brought to you by one of the world's best coffee equipment suppliers, and that is Prima Coffee. Prima Coffee is a company based out of Louisville, Kentucky that curates the best equipment from around the world to match it perfectly with your needs, whatever the situation. If it's a home bar you're looking for, or you're operating a commercial coffee bar, which is a lot of you listening to the show, or you're expanding your operations and you need equipment or you need to upgrade your equipment, be it a espresso machine, under-counter refrigeration, grinders, brewers, whatever you can think of, Prima Coffee can set you up with the exact right thing. Go to prima-coffee.com and you'll see what I mean, because not only do they have an amazing selection of equipment to choose from, but they also have so many free resources to help you get up to speed on that equipment. And they do all of this because their mission is to help you create great coffee, be it at home or on the bar. So, again, I would encourage you, visit Prima Coffee at prima-coffee.com and reach out to them. Let them know that Keys to the Shop sent you, whether you're talking to them on the phone or during the checkout. And I know that you're going to be pleased working with Prima Coffee. This episode is also brought to you by the Pacific Barista Series. Having a great plant-based alternative to dairy on your bar is something that every cafe should have. And it's my opinion, and the opinion of many, many coffee operations around the world, that the Pacific Barista Series line of plant-based performance beverages are the ones that you should choose for your shop. What sets them apart is that these products are designed specifically for professional baristas and the standards for excellence that professional baristas have. So whether you're using almond, soy, coconut, rice, or oat milk, it has the ability to take the heat from steaming, produce amazing latte art ready, silky texture, and keep the flavor balance of your beverage focused on coffee. Again, this is a perfect choice for your cafe's menu. Go visit pacificfoods.com and learn more about the Barista Series line of plant-based performance beverages. And once you try them in your shop, I think you're going to agree that this is a great way to enhance the non-dairy offerings you give your customers. Again, go visit pacificfoods.com and get the Barista Series in your shop. All right, well, today we're going to be talking about the 5 areas of focus for retailers. These are things that I believe are some of the majors that we should be focusing on as we operate cafes today. Of course, we're all kind of familiar with the first, second, and third waves of coffee, and one could argue that we're either right in the middle of or trending toward the end of the third wave, but it's all theoretical. What we do know about retail coffee is that there are a lot of trends that happen. You can see this on show floors at trade shows. You can see it online. There's no shortage of trends in any industry, and coffee included. But what's different is something that's a movement. A trend can be some new flavor of matcha. Like matcha is a trend in some ways. You don't necessarily have to have it in your cafe, but you may want it. It might fit for what you want to do in your shop. But the 5 things we're going to talk about today aren't trends. They're more like movements. They're a little harder to ignore, and if you ignore them, it's more likely that your shop is going to suffer. And when I say suffer, I mean so many coffee bars will start to adopt this that it just becomes the new normal, and anything less than this becomes subpar. And there's kind of a new normal or a new status quo reached all the time as we progress as an industry, and it's really been fascinating for me over the past 20 years of being in coffee to see how different the best shops, quotes here, air quotes behind the microphone, the best shops today are from the best shops in the year 1999 when I started in coffee. This is how an industry evolves, and it's going to continue evolving. 20 years from now, the status quo is going to be so much farther, I hope, ahead. It's going to be so much farther ahead than where we are right now. And I wanted to talk about the focus areas that I think are going to be the most helpful for retailers that are kind of the moment right now in retail. And these 5 areas, to me, represent some of the big headlines in terms of what a successful retail shop needs to be excellent at in order to survive in today's specialty coffee ecosystem. If you want to be excellent, if you want to be great, you're going to be excellent and great in these areas. So let's start with number 1, and that is hospitality as a priority of your business. This is not surprising. If you've listened to this show, you know hospitality is one of the main cornerstones, kind of a through line of a lot of what we talk about in this show. The fact of the matter is that you can't run an amazingly successful coffee bar without having a purposeful focus and designed approach to your hospitality. Hospitality doesn't happen by accident. And over the years, specialty coffee has really adopted a very methodical and purposeful approach to hospitality. It's made it more into the conversations on equal footing with coffee quality, which, by the way, is as good as it's ever been. That's the issue, is quality of coffee is at an all-time high. So therefore, if you go to any major city in the U.S. right now, you have the option of going to any number of high-quality coffee bars, and the coffee experience is going to be relatively similar. It's not going to be so earth-shatteringly different that you just have to blog about it or whatever. Now, there may be some amazing coffees here and there that come around, but for the most part, in the top shops, we're all making great coffee. And what's different from shop to shop and what brings people back into your store is the hospitality, how they're made to feel, the vibe they get from the staff, how cared for they are. The customer is used to great coffee, and now the point of differentiation between you and others is whether or not hospitality is a priority. Do you spend as much time training for hospitality as you do for making coffee behind the bar? We have so many tools. We have so many seminars and materials all around extraction, all around flavor profiles. And it's easy to latch onto those things because it's a tactile thing. We can kind of, we can taste it, we can touch it, we can feel it. Hospitality is fleeting. You might not see that person again. It happens in a blink of an eye. It's harder to focus on. And because it's harder, that should make us want to focus on it even more than we normally do. Because it's a moving target, we need to have better aim. You see? So hospitality as a priority is what you need to focus on in order to be successful in specialty coffee retail. Now, number 2, in terms of the 5 areas of focus, is having a genuine digital identity. Having a genuine digital identity has to do with consistency between what you experience in the shop and what you experience online. And I'm not just talking about Instagram or your Instagram stories or anything like that. I'm talking about any place where you exist digitally needs to be a reflection of your shop and the values that you have, in particular, your values. There are 2 extremes. First, there's kind of coffee catfishing, where you have such a highly curated Instagram account and everything is so polished that people's expectation is just off the charts, and it makes them come into your store. But you can't deliver on that because that's not really who you are. All those close-up photos of really clean cups and backlit pour-overs and things like that. And when the customer comes in and the lighting is bad, your cups are dirty, and the place smells like Simple Green because we mopped the floors too early for the pre-close, it really ruins the experience. Managing expectations is a real thing. You have to be aware of the kind of precedent you're setting. If you can't follow through with the promises you make online, then you need to rethink your presence online. Now, I'm not saying if you have a place that needs some work that you don't put nice photos up necessarily, but what I am saying is that you need to be aware of the implications of doing that and whether or not that's the true representation of what people will experience of you. The opposite extreme is when you're so great in person, when you're so amazing as a shop, but then all of a sudden things get ugly in the comments section on Facebook or in a thread on Twitter, when the values of hospitality that we just talked about don't really apply when you're behind a keyboard. This happens way too often, and people start to wonder, which version of this brand or this company am I going to get? There is a solution to this, and that is you have to accept that social media and the digital existence of your business, this is the second most important way people interpret you besides actually being in the shop. You've got to embrace that it's maybe even one of the primary ways that people interact with you before even coming into your store. And so all the values that you have for your staff and the most ideal experience that you want your staff to have and you want your customers to have in the store need to be values that you think through and put into practice in the digital realm. Okay, so make sure that you're giving people an authentic representation of your brand online. Don't try to be something that you're not. I'm not saying put bad photos up, but be who you are. Consistency of values throughout all expressions of your business is better for your brand, and it builds trust, and that's what builds your business. So having that genuine digital identity, consistent values in the way that your business interacts with people online, this is really, really key. Now, number 3 area of focus for success in retail is accessibility. Accessibility specifically of the coffee experience to the consumer. You can see the desire customers have for accessible coffee experiences in the market right now. If you look just at the proliferation of instant coffees and instant specialty coffees out there, ready-to-drink coffee products, cold brew products, products like Elixir, shout out to Lisa Farr, different things like that. It's an accessible product, and a lot of people just want it on the go. They want something that is just all about convenience. And part of the reason why, and this is just something I think, and I really don't have scientific evidence to back this up, but I've been watching the industry long enough. I think it's pretty well founded. Part of the reason why people want some kind of a convenient coffee product is that they don't want to necessarily deal with all of the layers of perceived pretension from the retail experience. We make it kind of difficult for people to enjoy coffee. So when a product comes out that is convenient, people are like, yes, I don't want to have to necessarily go to a coffee shop and go through all that hassle. Now, the problem, of course, is that why is it a hassle? Is it just because parking's hard? Is it because it takes a lot of time? I don't think so. I think you would gladly park and spend time for something that was very valuable, for something that was going to give you a return on your time investment and your, hassle investment. The issue is really we're not making it worth people's while to stop into the store. Okay? So one of the things that we can do is create a better space for people. That's one. We can create a more accessible coffee experience in the store. Now, that might look like having different types of verticals like instant coffee with your coffee's brand on it. Lots of people doing that. But you don't necessarily have to do that in order to create an accessible experience for your customers. You can also make it easy for people to order from your menu by simplifying your menu. When you create a better hospitality experience, you make conversations at the bar easier. So you have maybe some suggestions that are given to customers instead of just silence waiting for them to finish reading through the menu. Removing the barriers to enjoyment. sitting down with your team and figuring out what those are, that is critical. And it makes accessibility more of a reality in your shop. Are all of your coffees super light roasted coffees? You might be ignoring a large demographic of people that enjoy a more developed coffee. And I get it. It's your store. You do what you want. But if you want to cast a wider net and grab people into specialty coffee and convert them, as much as I hate that word in terms of customer relationships, but basically win them over to specialty coffee, demanding that they go from 1 to 10 right away is kind of what we're doing with the way some of our bars are set up. So I think one of the things we can do is look at the accessibility of what we have on our menu, what we offer in the shop, how easy we make it for people to converse with us and be in our stores, and remove those barriers for enjoyment. Now, number 4 on our list is customer education to equip for success. This is an area of focus that has gone from the occasional public cupping that was so rare. When the first few shops did it, it was just like, you can do that? You can have the public cup coffee? Amazing. The first few stores that did public classes for how to do pour-overs, it was just an amazing idea. Now, though, you see people doing it all over the place, having cuppings, having classes to teach people how to have a successful brew of their coffee at home. If you want to be successful as a retailer, helping people be successful with what you retail is critical. Helping them succeed in brewing your coffee at home close to, if not exactly like, the coffee that you have in the shop is critical. And of course, this is kind of a roaster's point, the focus. Even if you're a multi-roaster shop, I think you want people buying the bags of coffee off of your shelf. You want people to feel empowered. And educating them just so that they walk around with the information in their heads that puts you on a pedestal, that says, whoa, there's a lot of coffee, and the baristas are so great here, and they know so much. And I mean, that's fine, but getting them to the point where they can successfully make great coffee brings them into the community of specialty coffee, and it creates an even more dedicated customer to specialty and to your coffee shop also. People remember the ones that are generous, the ones that give information, the ones that are transparent, open, and help. They remember the helpers. And if you help people in the store create great coffee experiences for themselves and their loved ones, they're going to be like your baristas. They are volunteer baristas. They're actually paying you to make great coffee for themselves and other people, and it does nothing but good things for you, for them, and for specialty coffee. So we have to focus on having these classes, on having information that helps equip our customers, not just impress them. Information that's given has to give them a tool to use for their benefit and then ultimately for the benefit of specialty coffee and your business. There's another episode on this from far back in the archives. I'll link to it in the show notes on setting up customer classes that I think you'll find helpful. And it's beyond customer classes. It's also printing brewing instructions and ratios in easy to understand terms on the bag or in a paper that you have available for free on the shelf. Set people up for success, and you'll be more successful. Now, the last thing I want to mention here in terms of 5 areas of focus for retailers is something that every specialty coffee shop needs to get on board with if they want to be around for a long time, and especially if they want to have their baristas around for a long time, and that is a focus on quality leadership and accountability. Let's face it, you don't really need to look around very far to know that leadership in specialty coffee is a mess. There's a lot of people in leadership positions that should not be there. A lot of them, just because they're the owner, they're the default leader, and maybe they should never have opened a coffee bar. I hope that's not you listening to this, but a lot of people are just unequipped to lead groups of people, and they just jump right into it because they're technically good at coffee or because they're an entrepreneur and they just had a romantic dream about coffee. And under the stress of the day-to-day, it starts to produce a toxic environment, and you get all sorts of issues. People leave shops all the time, mostly because of managers. And I think you could raise your hand along with me that you've had bad managers, bad leaders in the past, and it's been hard to move past that. It's been hard for you to not let it negatively affect your career in coffee. Well, the bad news is this. A lot of times, even though we don't like those influences on us, we can also be bad influences unless we are checking ourselves, unless we are examining ourselves and pursuing accountability in our leadership and not creating this dictatorship in the form of, well, I'm the owner or I'm the GM and what I say goes and nobody keeps me accountable. This is the vie for power based on positional authority that so many bars are run on. A toxic mix of that and the stress of the day-to-day leads to some really messed up coffee shops. So it's not just other people, it's us. We're all human beings, and we have the ability to mess other people up as much as we've been messed up by other people. So leadership in the coffee shop is of paramount importance. I hope that this show has been helpful to you. But there's also a lot of other resources out there in terms of developing you as a leader that would be helpful, like Jonathan Raymond's Good Authority book. It's Okay to Be the Boss by Bruce Tulgan. You can listen to podcasts like Coaching for Leaders by my friend Dave Stachowiak or The Look and Sound of Leadership by Tom Henschel. And the list goes on. There are a lot of things out there that if you just look for it, examine yourself with a humble heart, you're going to be in a better position to be a good leader. And also, you're going to be a better leader of leaders. If you're a GM, if you're an owner, then you're going to have to manage managers. You're going to have to put people in positions of authority and then hold them accountable and then allow them to hold you accountable too. This is one of the ultimate blind spots that we have. And we wonder why businesses go out of business. The coffee was good, the location was good, the concept was solid, they had financial backing, but it was just terrible to work there. But the owner or manager burned out. The stories are all around us. And it does not have to be your story. It doesn't have to be the story going forward. If you want a great coffee shop, you need to focus a significant portion of your energy on developing yourself and helping develop other people in their leadership capabilities, in how they communicate, how they exist, and how they properly use their authority in their positions. And the goal is to make this an inclusive, safe, challenging, instructive, and strongly led organization. To be strong, caring, and hands-on with your management, to be vulnerable, and to always be improving as a leader. And this is the last thing that I'm mentioning because we tend to remember the first and the last things that we hear or read. So if you're going to remember any of these 5 things, the first thing being hospitality, the last thing being leadership, then that is fine by me. The first has a lot to do with how you create a great experience for your guests, and the last has a lot to do with how you create a great experience for your staff. This is a social endeavor, running a coffee shop, and ultimately, we need to have solid relationships all around us in order to have a sustainable and solid business. So in review, the 5 things. Number 1, hospitality as a priority. Number 2, a genuine and consistent digital identity and expression of values in your business's digital existence. Number 3, accessibility. The accessibility of the coffee experience, removing barriers for enjoyment. Number 4, customer education to equip them to facilitate their success in brewing your coffee and doing it for their benefit and not just to impress them with knowledge. And lastly, number 5, quality leadership and accountability is a must and a constant pursuit. All 5 of these things have to be a focus and they have to be in place in order to have a really great coffee bar. And it's easier said than done, and I wish you all the best in taking the first steps in these. It's going to take some time, some patience, but I believe you can do it. I have seen it turn businesses around for sure, and I know that it's going to be beneficial for yours as well. So now, if you want to reach out to me, you have questions about this episode or anything really, you have feedback, comments, stuff like that, you can reach out to me, chris@keystotheshop.com. That's the email address. Also, if you're interested in working with me to help you develop your business's operations, leadership, train your employees, if you're opening a shop and you need help getting started, or if you're expanding and want to scale responsibly and successfully, let's have a conversation and see what Keys to the Shop Consulting can do for you and your business. Send me an email, chris@keystotheshop.com. And that's it for today's episode. I really hope that this was helpful for you and gave you some things to think about and act on. And as always, I hope that this episode has truly given you keys to the shop.